Welcome everyone to Fundraising Refreshments. This is all about Google Analytics 4. It's new to everyone. It's new to me. It's not new to Cord. He's been using it for a while. We're excited to have you here. We hope you got your refreshments. I've got my always around me Coke Zero. We're not sponsored by Coke. I wish we were. Just gonna throw that out there. Cord, if you want to go to the next one so they can see our faces while they look at us as well. I'm Jenn Thompson, Vice President of Digital Strategy at RKD Group. I've been here about 13 years, and my whole career has been helping nonprofits use technology in the digital space for their fundraising. Got Cord Hickson with me here, software engineer and all-around knowledgeable guy on GA4.
Absolutely. I specialize with the team with media mix modeling, information engineering, and help our media team as well with any tracking and analytics questions.
Today we're gonna talk a little bit about what makes GA4 different. Show you a demo. That's really the one thing I've had to learn. It's all about building your own reports. Universal Analytics, GA3, whatever you want to call it, was really just looking at a report that was there, and you could do some filters, get some information. Now you can make your own reports. You can filter things in new ways. Every time I'm looking for something, I go to Cord and say, how do I get this information I need?
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, you know, event tracking, everything is an event now. Page view, session start, purchase event was there before, but now all of them follow that model with the event. So another big change as well. Another thing I want to talk about are some key dates. As you know, Jen, July 1st, 2023, Universal Analytics started turning itself off on multiple accounts. Now Google Analytics has came out and said July 1st, 2024, they will stop user access to Universal Analytics. Now this timeline is different for 360 customers. You do have a little extra time to get in there, but for your regular Google Analytics customers, you're going to be looking at no access after July 1st, 2024. So what does that mean, right? So one of the things I want to touch on here is your data retention policy and your data backup policy. It's very important that you're getting your UA data out of UA and into something like BigQuery or Looker Studio or your own data warehouse. The other thing is too is making sure your GA4's retention policy. Before with UA, you had up to 50 months of retention, so it never became an issue with running your year-over-year reports with having that retention policy. Now the max you can get out of GA4 is a 14-month data retention policy, so it's still going to be crucial to have that BigQuery backup or have that data backup so you can review that year-over-year coming up.
Yeah, and we'll show you it in a screenshot in a second where to make that setting. But I do think if you take nothing else away from this, I would make sure you go into your Google Analytics and change your data retention from 2 months to 14 months, because nothing will be worse than like trying to do a quarterly report and you won't be able to get the whole quarter. You'll definitely want to make that change. So let's talk about some other things you're going to want to know about. You want to go on, Cord?
Yep.
My favorite new thing to find out is using the search bar. In GA4, you can go and type in users from September 2023, and it will instantly show you the number, and it will have a nice copy button to make it easy to get that at that. If you ask for something that it doesn't necessarily not a number, it can just display for you, it will show you a list of reports that information might be in. So fantastic tool. When someone showed me this, I was like, this is a huge time saver because there's nothing worse than like trying to click through, you know, 4 or 5 different little mini reports or views in there to get one number that you need. So if you can get it really quick by searching, you could be in and out almost as fast as you're probably used to doing things in Universal Analytics.
And I just want to talk about the data retention settings in a little bit more in detail just because of how important it is. This is actually where the setting lives in your administrator settings. Under data settings, data retention, by default, it's set to 2 months. And this is reset. Now, I do want to let you know this is reset when a user revisits your site. So what this is judged just by the user, not your data as a whole. So really GA4 is pushing a user-centric, user purchase journey focus with this new platform. So just wanted to call that out.
And Cord, can you just pause for a minute and talk about data thresholds too? Because I know data is a little different, and you might get some notices or warnings about thresholds that you wouldn't have seen in Universal Analytics.
Absolutely, absolutely. So because of that, because it is user-based and it's trying to tell the user journey, we are ever changing in the world of digital analytics. We are trying to be like the rest of the digital world, more privacy-centric, more privacy-focused, respect to user privacy. So when you look at the way GA4 was designed, it was designed in that way. So one of the things about thresholding that they implemented, with Google Signals, you can get demographic data like age, gender, interest. But with Google Signals also, if you don't meet that minimum aggregate threshold that Google requires, that's set by them by default, they will threshold some of the data. So what does that mean? That means that when you're looking at either like traffic acquisition or a report for your advertisement, you may not see one-for-one numbers in the platform or close to what you see in the platform due to them restricting and not showing specific transactions on there that they feel like would identify an individual user had they give you their full information. So just one thing to call out and make note of for GA4 versus Universal Analytics.
Thanks. You know, just as he talked about Google restricting like what might identify someone, I do think it's important to talk about UTMs. These are URL parameters you're adding on to links pushing people to your website from social media, from your emails, from a QR code or a vanity URL, all of those things, something you might put in a press release. You don't want to put links on your website from your website to your website with UTMs, but anything pushing to your website so you can get tracking. This is super helpful. This will just make everything in GA4 even more powerful for you. It's one thing to know traffic's coming to the site. It's another to know it's from an email and then which email, or to be able to look at a whole campaign worth of emails. Maybe you had 5 or 6 that you want to see how all of that did. So what, you know, did the people come from that email or a campaign worth of emails? Did they stay longer? Did they donate more? What's the average gift that they gave? Did they bounce off the site immediately, right? So if you can see email, all of your advertisements, paid search, paid social, anything like that that's pushing people to the site, you'll be able to drill down to it. That did exist in UA, and I still see organizations not taking advantage of UTMs. It takes a little bit to get used to how to structure the URLs and to understand what's a source versus a medium versus a campaign. There are plenty of URL builders out there. Google's got one that will help you take advantage of it, but really recommend you look into that if you're not doing it. Otherwise, you could look at a report that shows you what channels or what's driving people to the website. You're not going to know what's coming from email. You're not going to know what's coming from which social media post that might have looked successful. You're not going to know more specifics on your ads. So I think this is step number 2 that I think you should take. Change your data retention settings and start using UTMs if you're not already, because this is going to be critical down the road for just getting the most out of GA4.
Absolutely, Jen. And then let's talk about, if that's step 2, let's talk about step 3. What really enhances your donation platform and your donation form tracking is GA4 e-commerce, right? And so having this level of granularity in your e-commerce tracking that you can then trace down what email, what steps or what picture of their user journey did they take place to go along this purchase? Where did they actually, you know, were they directed to the homepage and then they went to the donation form? Being able to tell, and then what did they convert? Were they a one-time giver or did they become a sustainer based off of that email? Being able to know all of this and be able to tell what campaign is from is crucial to your GA4 tracking and your setup. And so if step 2 is UTMs, then I would recommend GA4 e-commerce be step 3.
I would totally agree. There's I think GA overall is just much less valuable if you're not tracking the revenue. So for nonprofits, your donations, your event signups could be part of it. For anybody who's got an online store, you'd want to see, you know, are you getting donations? Are you selling t-shirts? all of those things are important to show you what are the most valuable visitors, what sources drove them, to get the most out of it. So I asked Cord to join us today so he could walk you through how to actually create some of the cool reports that are in there. This was, for me, the whole set up your own report. It was a real mental breakthrough when I figured out that this is what GA4, this is the power of it. So used to going into UA, just knew exactly where to find what I needed, how to use a filter, how to get to the right information. And here it's just not quite the same. You can find stuff. There's a lot of reports and little mini dashboards set up for you. But the things I was used to finding weren't in there. And once it dawned on me that I could control building a report to get to it, and then that report would always be there for me, was just a mental breakthrough. That if you haven't gotten there yet and you're just like frustrated, you're like, I don't know where to go in here. I think once you figure out and you see Cord show you how to build your own report, will definitely make you feel a little bit more comfortable getting into GA4 and starting to take advantage of it.
Absolutely, absolutely, Jen. So I have pulled up on the screen that I'm sharing with you guys now. I wanted to go ahead and get pulled up a traffic acquisition report. I'm going to show you how to edit a native report in GA4, and then I'm also going to show you the second step that you saw, freeform report. I'm going to show you how to build out a quick freeform report as well. So here in your traffic acquisition, you'll find this under reports, and then under lifecycle acquisition, traffic acquisition. By default, if you don't have custom channel definitions, which is another recommendation I have, you can switch to that, or you can go by the sessions default channel grouping. One thing that you'll notice here is that you got conversion and a total revenue, but let's try to get a session conversion rate out of this. So I'm gonna go up here to this little pencil here and customize this report.
While you're doing that, I just wanted to say, you know, UA put everything really in front of you, and there was not a lot of left and right scrolling, and they've added a lot more columns that you can get at. And so I would also say, like, make sure you scroll left and right and you look for the extra stuff. It's GA4 is much more visual and trying to in a online experience. I think UA was built with you could turn this all into a PDF and you're still going to see everything you know, that you see on screen, and on screen has much more scrolling and flexibility to just keep adding columns to things than you ever had before.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so you'll notice I've added here, so I went under metrics, and then under metrics, I went to add the search. That's the other thing too. If you know specifically what you're wanting for, you can come in here and browse. If you don't, if you do, you can use the search bar, speeds up the time a lot. So I mentioned session conversion rate, so we're just going to add that there. And then you'll be able to come over, apply. And there's your session conversion rate added to the existing report that you already have, or any other metric that you would like to see in the view of this reporting. Same thing with dimensions. You can change the dimensions as well. So all that really giving you a lot of customizability that you don't have with the report. And then you could also say changes to the current report. And so that way that change will be permanent for those users on that account. And so that's saved now. So now let's go back and let me show you a freeform report.
And freeform reports, I kind of wish now that UA had this all along, because it just would have made it easier to make your own little, it's kind of like the create your own custom report section. But this would let you put multiple reports together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think this is where, as it loads for us, I think this is where the power from GA4 really comes in handy, honestly, because this allows you the flexibility that you didn't have before in UA with your reporting. But that being said, UA had plenty of built-in, baked-in reports that this really wasn't as needed as it is now with GA4. So I just want to recreate this demographics report that I created. Let's go ahead and let's start with a blank report.
Google's a little slow today.
I'm telling you. And then we're going to start. You'll notice you can title this whatever. Demographics report. Okay. And you can have multiple reporting tabs as well. So if you want different visualizations, different reports that you want baked into this exploration, you can. So you don't have to have an individual report for each exploration. So let's drop in something real quick. Let's go under our dimensions. And if you don't know what you're looking for, feel free to come through here, browse. I mean, they have so much, right? And think of dimensions as what your rows are going to be, okay, and not the values of your columns. The metrics are going to be your columns. So under demographics, let's add age and gender.
And I love that, you can now see all of the data that you have access to put into a report. I didn't feel like that was anywhere that you would know in UA that, these things were all available.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so it's real easy. You can drag and drop, but what I like to do is I just like to double click, and then I'll just put it in the order that you double click it in. So I just want to come over here, double click on all these dimensions and metrics, and give GA a second. And there's your report.
Just fantastic. And Cord, if I wanted to see this in like a pie chart or some other view, is there any other way to do a visualization?
Again, so real easy. So here are your separate visualizations. Obviously, more are designed to cater to specific needs and specific reports. So I mean, if you were doing demographics and you were doing a geo map, you could do that. If you wanted a pie chart based on your spread here, though, you just come right over here and it generates your pie chart for you, and there would be your breakdown with your graph here. And then if you wanted to export this data into a Google Sheet, a PDF, or a CSV, you could too as well. And one thing to call out here, we mentioned data thresholding earlier. One of the ways you could tell that your data has thresholding applied to it is up in these little reporting bars. You'll see this little like roadblock hazard sign, right? And you come click on here, and so this is 100% of the available data, but you can see where they applied thresholding, so they wouldn't be able to identify a specific user due to those at minimum thresholds. So just to call that out for you guys. But yeah, that was the free-form report and how to edit your current reporting.
I think it's so helpful. I was looking up something and I saw how to do free-form reports, and I thought this is the thing that we should do a webinar about and we should show people, because I don't think was well promoted in like all the benefits of GA. So a couple quick takeaways. You gotta give a little more effort, right? You gotta go build your own reports in some cases. You gotta manually set up those reports with what you need. Put your UTMs in so you get access to even more information, so you can be more specific for what you're doing. And just one last important note. The data in GA4 is not real time. So if you are used to, it's Giving Tuesday, and you want to go look at how your revenue is coming in through the day, and maybe you're comparing it to last Giving Tuesday, because you want that hour by hour, are we on track? Are we ahead of last year? Are we falling behind? It doesn't do that. E-commerce reporting, it'll be, maybe you'll see a gift or two for the day, but it really takes, it won't really show up until the next day. And then we've also seen a lot of reports that said you should really wait 3 full days, like at the end of the month, 3 full days into the next month, to get all of the events all processed and all the data in there. So Cord, I don't know if you have any more thoughts on that piece. If 3 days is really hard to control.
You said it perfectly, Jen. Exactly. I'm glad you touched on this. This is one of Google's cost-saving measures, switching from Universal Analytics to GA4. Before you could go in and after a purchase or a transaction, you would see it 4 or 5, maybe 10 minutes after a transaction took place, where now I'm really noticing at least 24 hours before we see a transaction for most transactions. Most transactions are all through before that 72-hour mark, but Google Docs does say set up to 72 hours as a disclaimer. So good to call that out, Jen. I really appreciate that. One thing I would want to add to that is there is a debug view in Google Analytics and under your admin settings. If you are worried that you are not getting tracking on your site, you can easily go to that debug view and see real-time events firing there. Now, they won't show up into your reporting, but at least you can make sure the events are coming through. And we would be more than happy at RKD to help partner with you in that as well. But yeah, thank you, Jen. I think you spoke on it very well.
That's good to know about the the debug option. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to do a setup and then wait 3 days to check your work.
Right.
Thanks, everyone. We hope these were helpful tips for you. You know, it's hard to put everything into just a refreshments webinar for GA4. If you've got feedback or ideas that you would want a deeper dive into, please let RKD know. I can drag Cord back out to webinar land and we can try to make a more extended version. Hopefully you'll join us for the next up fundraising refreshments webinar too with Evan Arcoria. It's last minute tips for Giving Tuesday, which is right around the corner. Crazy that we're pretty much in year-end giving season already. So thanks everyone for attending. Appreciate you.
Thanks everyone. Have a good day.